What's up, guys? Welcome to the Quarantine. I'm your host, Wolf, and today I'm going to be taking a look at a game called The Village Crone by Fireside Games. Now, The Village Crone plays between 1 to 6 players, and it plays about 45 minutes to an hour. Now, The Village Crone, each player is going to take control of a witch in ye olde time, and their familiar, and they're going to be roaming around a small little village, causing just general chaos, mischief, and mayhem. And the end goal of the game is to be the first person to reach 13 points. That's honestly all I can really say about The Village Crone. I do have to say, as usual, this is a review, it is not a tutorial. So let's just dive right into the gameplay, shall we?
Alright, this is basically the Village Crone setup. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to set out the 6 tiles out kind of how they are now, or in the book it shows other ways you can set them up to make things a little more interesting or a little harder, or pretty much however you want. It's pretty fast and loose. You can pretty much set it up however you want. But you're going to set those up, and then depending on the tile, you should see these little markers here, like this dirt, and shows this little fire here. Which, yeah, you guys can see that little fire marker, shows a little silver. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to take the deck, that's just all, this is just fire. You're going to take that and you're going to shuffle 3 Eye of Newt cards in it, which are wild cards. And you'll shuffle it all up and you'll put the fire deck at the fire, the silver in the silver, the dirt in the dirt, and the flower in the flower. Then you're going to put all of the villagers, like this guy. You'll put the blacksmith in the forge, the lord in the lord's manor, the farmer in the farm, the miller in the miller, the peasant in the village, and the priest in the tilth barn. Then each player taking their turn is going to place 1 familiar at a time in each location. So like, I'll put mine in the forge, and then, you know, my wife will put one maybe in the lord's manor, and my daughter will put one maybe in the farm, and then my brother will maybe put one in the mill. Or he also might put one in the farm or lord's manor. You can double up. And then I would place another one, and then my wife would, then my daughter would, and my brother would, and then it would come to me, and I place my 3rd one, and then they'd place their 3rd one, so on and so forth. And if at any time there's ever more than the number of players, so in my example here, if there's ever 5 familiars in total in the same location, then the last one gets to stay there, everybody else gets thrown to the village green, and then the peasants or the villagers come back that are supposed to be there, which will make more sense in a minute. So like the blacksmith would come back to the forge and so on and so forth. But then each player is going to draw 3 cards. And I'll touch bases on these in a minute. You're going to draw 1 level 1, 1 level 2, 1 level 3. And they're worth respectively 1, 2, and 3 points. And again, first one to 13 points wins. So once I accomplish this, I get 3 points. I'll touch on these in a minute. But you're going to set out all the tokens. So you got the binding tokens, the love tokens, which I've only pulled out a couple of each one. The frog tokens, you're going to figure out who's going to be the first player, and it's going to get the witch's broom. And then you're ready to play. Once the game is started, each player is going to draw 2 cards that correlate to wherever the familiars are. So here I have fire, so I draw 2 fire cards, 2 silver cards, 2 earth cards, which I have here. And then now the game is ready to begin. So the first thing that happens is you have to, what is it called? It's called tilth, which I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing that. So you have to basically discard a card. So you're going to choose one of these and go, okay, you know what, let's get rid of a dirt. So every player is going to face down, put their discarded card in the tilth barn, which again, I'm almost positive I'm pronouncing that wrong, but whatever. And each player will do that. So how many players, like in my situation here, my fake scenario, you're going to have 4 cards there, and then 8 cards, and then 12 cards, and so on and so forth, until people start using them, which I'll get to. Then, starting with the first player, you are allowed to move and cast spells as much as you want, kind of. You can cast spells up to whatever you can actually pay for, which I'll get to in a second. You can move, you get a total of 6 movement points. So that's either moving your familiars or moving villagers. So for example, I could go, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oh, that stuck to my finger. 4, 5, and then 6 if I wanted to. It's really dumb to do what I just did, but that's what I could do. You have 6 movement points. You could spend them however you want. And you use that to move all your people around and blah, blah, blah. So like if, which I'll touch on now, if I have a mission that says get the peasant to the forge. So the peasant's over there. The forge is way the hell over here. So I might want to go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all of my movement. But the problem with that is somebody else knows that that villager is beelining over here, so on their turn they can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and get them back here. Each of these locations, that is just one big spot. So she could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if she wanted to. That's one big spot, and it allows you to basically jump long distances. It's pretty neat. But so you have that, and then you can cast any number of spells that you can actually pay for. And what I mean by that is when you look at your little grimoire here on your screen, which should be hiding your objectives, you have Conjuring, let's see, Conjuring, Love, Summoning, Switching, Transformation, Fortune, Binding, and Protection. And then you have the ingredients here. So in order to do Conjuring, place a new familiar in the village green, we need a fire, silver, flower, and soil. In order to cast Love, we need 2 fire, and so on and so forth. So as long as you can pay for the spells, you can cast them. Now in the rules it states, so for example, if I cast Love, move any one villager to a position of another, joining their fate, see page 4 for breaking Love spell. Basically you just cast it again. So in this case, I would take my 2 fire, right here, and you would spend it, so you would put it in a collective discard pile that's not the Tilth Barn. We usually just discard them into 4 different piles, or 5 technically, for the Eye of Newt, and so that way it's easier to pick up after the game. But I would do that, and I would go, you know what, I want the priest to fall in love with the farmer. So you'd take this heart, you'd bring the priest over, or the farmer over to the priest, and you would connect them with the heart. Now, anything that happens to either the farmer or the priest happens to both. So if I were to spend later, or say I cast spells first and then moved, I would move both of these together. So they would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now they're both over here. These don't like to stay on there, but you get the idea. So you can do that in any order. So I could like cast a spell, move somebody 2, maybe cast another spell, move something else 1, so on and so forth. You just get 6 movement points and you can cast as many spells as you want. Now, when you cast a spell, like that Love spell, I would have to say, from the belly of desire and the laws of attraction, be chained now without distraction. So I would have to say that. If I don't, let's say I go, okay, I'm going to cast this Love spell, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to come over here and do this, and another witch goes, you didn't recite the incantation. The rulebook also states you can make up your own, but somebody can call me out and go, you didn't do your incantation. Then they undo what I did, I don't get the materials back, and I screwed myself. There's going to be more on that later, but that's it in the rules. But you can also make up your own incantation. It states that as well. But anyways, so you're going to do that. During this phase, you're trying to accomplish these goals. So for example, to debase the blacksmith for 2 points, I would get the peasant to the forge, transform the blacksmith into a frog. So I'd be trying to get the peasant over here, and then I would need to cast transformation with 1 fire, 1 flower on the blacksmith, turn him into a frog, and then I can go, I've completed this, and you'll set it up right next to you, face up, so that you've scored 2 points. Now, you have white dots, you have black dots. White dots means as long as it's happened. So if through the course of the game, other people trying to do things, the blacksmith is a frog, and the peasant is over in the forge, on your turn you can go, I've completed this. You didn't have to do anything. You just got free 2 points. Pretty cool. Now you can also cash them in when it's not your turn by paying a silver. How unprofessional. Alright, as I was saying, I apologize about that. If it's not your turn, you can still cash this in, but you have to spend a silver. So I would go, I've completed this, it's my wife's turn. I've completed this, and here's my silver, and I'll discard it, and I've scored this 2 points. Boom. So with black dots, however, you specifically have to, in this case, unbind any location bound by another witch. You have to do it. And you have to summon any villager to that location. And things don't carry over, from if I'm not mistaken. So, like, this turn I can't unbind another location. And then 2 turns from now, go ahead and summon a villager to that location. Because it's a lot of bookkeeping, and everybody's like, I don't remember you doing that, yada yada yada. It's something you have to do all in one go. Just like this. Like if the blacksmith was a frog, and then the next turn he's turned back into the blacksmith, and then you get the peasant to the forge. The blacksmith is no longer a frog, so he's got to be a frog when you play this. But so that's how that's going to work. Then, and you have this nice little order of play here. You have some reminders of some easily forgotten rules, like completing a witch's scheme out of turn costs silver. You know, frogs can be moved only by familiars, because you don't get to move frogs unless you have a familiar. You basically carry them. But then you're going to go to harvest after you've done all this, and each player does all of their moving and spell casting. Then you will go ahead and harvest, and you'll do the same thing that you started the game with. You will draw 2 cards from each pile that you have familiar in. And then there's one last thing. Let's say during my turn I completed this. What's going to happen is I only have 2 of these cards. So you will draw number 1, a number 2, and a number 3. You'll flip them over, and because I am 1 short from my 3, I will get to pick any one of these. So I can pick another 3, even though I already have a 3, and I have a 1, I can go ahead and pick this 3. Or, you know, I can pick a 1 or the 2, whatever. So let's say in this case I'll pick the 3, because they're harder to do, but they're worth 3 points. So I'll keep this. Now these cards, they go face up or face down on the top of the pile. So the next person that completes a quest, keep wanting to call them missions, next person that completes a quest, you know 2 of their cards that they have to get. So if you see that they put back a 1 and a 3, you remember what that 2 was, and you can actively try to stop them from actually accomplishing their quest. But that basically is the Village Crone. Once somebody reaches 13 points, everybody else gets, or well, you complete the round. Not really everybody else. You get to complete the round, and that is the Village Crone. So I guess let's just move straight to my final thoughts, shall we?
Alright, the Village Crone. Well, I saw this in the shop numerous times. I walked by it a few times. I'd always pick it up, and I thought it looked really cool. But I didn't really want to pull the trigger on it. I did a little bit of research on it. I'd heard some really good things, heard some really bad things, and I wound up actually getting my hands on a copy. And I played it, and I have to admit, I didn't have real high hopes for it, because again, I had heard a lot of bad things about it, but again, I heard a lot of good things. But I didn't have real high hopes. I figured it'd be a fun game. So, played it once, 2 players with my brother, and we really enjoyed it. The rule that every time you cast a spell, you have to recite the incantation should be the first rule you throw out. Maybe it should be mandatory, like the first time you cast a spell during a turn, you have to do the incantation, or something. But for example, there was a point where my brother was, he was summoning? Yeah. He was summoning somebody, and he had to summon like 4 different people. So he had to go, by beast that flies and beast that crawl appear at once within these walls, by beast that flies and beast, and he had to do that 4 times. We were playing, we wanted to play by the rules, especially the first few times we played it. And it got really old. Or if for whatever reason, during your turn, you are casting 4 or 5 spells during your turn, it just kind of gets... It's fun the first few turns that you do it. When you do the weird accents, and by beast that boil! But after that, it gets really dumb. Like, the way after the next time we played that it was optional. You know, because it's kind of a dumb rule. So we played it was optional, a lot more fun. Way more fun, because if you're getting into it, yeah, you might want to make up your own spell and be like, by Newt's eye, so I mean, it does get really fun at that point. But the game itself, is it any good? Yeah, actually, it's got a real big take that kind of, especially where you look at when you complete one of your missions, which some of them are really hard to do. Like some of them should be worth 4 and 5 points. They're ridiculous because you never get to get rid of that mission. As far as I know, I may have missed a rule in there that you can scrap some of the missions. I may have overlooked it, but as far as I know, you can't get rid of those missions. So when you take one, it's there, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. So it really sucks, or not that it really sucks, but it's really cool when you do complete a mission and you draw the 3 cards and you go, okay, I need to remember these because I know what they're going to be going for. And then you notice that, you know, say the mission was like the miller has to go get to the Lord's manor and then they have to fall in love. So you're like, okay, I'm going to turn the peasant into a frog so he can't do it. And then I'm going to lock the farm or lock the Lord's manor so he can't get anything in it. Or I'm going to lock the tilth barn and the farm so he's got to go all the way around everything just to get there. And it's going to take a lot longer and I can do more things to screw him over. Or oh, he's getting close, so now I'm going to teleport or summon the Lord all the way over to the mill, which is on the other side of the map. Or because, you know, you could arrange them however you want. So it's got some really cool dynamics to it, and it's pretty simple. My 9-year-old daughter could play it. She was getting a little confused about how drawing the missions worked, but other than that, it's pretty simple, and it's a very enjoyable game, and it's pretty. It takes the witch just causing mayhem is in a very light-hearted way. Like you're turning people into frogs. So you're not murdering people. You're not slaughtering villages. You're turning him into a frog and then making this guy fall in love with that guy and giggling about that and dumb stuff. So, I mean, it is a pretty fun game. It's not incredibly deep. It's not going to win any awards. But you got an hour to sit down and play a fun little witch-themed game, and you want to maybe get into some roleplay, light a candle, and wear your weird, you know, shower robe and pretend you're a witch. It's a good little game for that. I definitely recommend it. It was pretty fun. Anyways, if you like the show, check me out on Patreon. Give me a like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time in the quarantine.